Okay, here's the third section of banking. The last few sections we were mostly focusing on checking accounts, especially section 2. Now we're going to talk a little bit more about how savings accounts work. Okay, so here's a few things that you're going to have to learn. I'm going to talk about vocabulary. You need to be able to understand and define some of the vocabulary terms. We're also going to compute simple interest, which should be a formula most of you are familiar with. We'll review that. Alright, so the types of savings accounts. First, before we get to the savings accounts, the types, let's talk a little bit. Savings accounts, as you can read, that's where you would put your money into a bank. You can withdraw money from it, you can deposit money. Typically the bank, for holding your money, you letting them hold your money, they'll give you some kind of interest. They pay a little bit of interest on it. So the more money you have in, the more interest you're going to make. It's almost always a percentage. So that's where the simple interest formula comes from. Here's the formula itself. A few key things. I stands for the interest, so that's the amount of money you earn in interest. P, principal, that's the amount of money you have in your account. You should be writing this down as you hear it. R is the rate of interest rate, so usually it's annually. In this formula it's going to be annually. And then T is the time, so how many years. So if you put a certain amount, let's say $10, that would be your principal. If you put $10 into an account that has an annual interest rate of, let's say, 5%, which is 0.05. So remember, whenever we do percents and formulas, we usually change it to a decimal first. And time would be the number of years. Let's say you put it in for 3 years. So you would calculate this by taking your principal, $10, times the rate of interest, 0.05, times the number of years. So if you kept $10 in this account at this interest rate for 3 years, you would make $1.50 in interest. Obviously, the more money you put in, the higher you're going to make. That being said, if any three of these things, principal, rate, or time, is longer, bigger, then you're going to make more in interest. Okay? So if you typically know how much you want to invest, your principal, how much you want to save, and for a certain amount of time, you usually look for the bank with the highest interest rate so you can make the most interest. Okay? Simple interest is only calculated based on the principal that you have in. That'll make more sense when we get to the next section. So make sure you have that formula written down. Vocabulary. Okay, so we have a couple things. We have money market account, which is where they usually have high interest rate, but you have to have a certain amount of money in there. So it might be an account in a bank that has a really high interest rate, 8%. But you have to have $500 in there at all times, right? Otherwise you have a penalty, and we'll get into that a little bit later. A CD, you may have heard of a CD, and not a compact disc, but a CD as far as when you see infomercials, they say, no, sorry, no CODs, or a CD is a certificate of deposit. This says you have a certain amount of money, a certain fixed rate, but you can't take the money out until a future date without penalty. So it'll say, okay, you give us $1,000, we'll give you this interest rate, and in 10 years, you'll guaranteed to have this amount. Okay, but you can't take it out before 10 years. Okay, so maybe you're saving up for college, or a child's college when you're older, or maybe you're saving up for a house, and you want to save up for 10 years, so you set the CD for 10 years, and put in a certain amount, and you will be able to calculate how much you're going to have. So if you say, I want this much for the house or this much for college, so how much do I have to put in now so that in 10 years it's the amount I need? Okay, and this will be used more in the future. Well, just kind of introducing you to that. So we have this first example. Again, as always, when you get to examples, pause the video, do the work calculations, resume the video, and see how you did. Okay, for this one, we just want to put the interest rates in ascending order. Ascending means smallest to biggest. So I'm just going to write smallest to biggest, or largest. Notice they're all different kinds of percentages, so we've got to convert these. So start with 4.25%. If you're really good, then you know quarters 0.25. So this is this percent, 4.25%. Okay? So I'll go 4.25, and I'm going to divide it by 100, and that's going to give me 0.0425. Okay, so as a decimal, not as a percentage, this is 0.0425. We'll do the same thing for 4.22%. So I'm really just going to move the decimal place two places. 0.0422. So I've moved the decimal place two places to the left. Okay? So as you can see, this one's larger than the first state is larger than Johnson City so far. Let's see. Now let's do 4 3/8. How are you going to do 4 3/8? You may not know what 3/8 is. So you have options. You can either convert this mixed number into an improper and then divide, or you can do 4 plus 3/8, because that's really what 4 3/8 is. It's 4 plus 3/8. So to figure out what 3/8 is, I'm going to do 3 divided by 8, so 0.375. Then I'm going to add that 4 in front, so it's 4 and 3/8. And means plus there. So 4.375. So now I have to convert that to a decimal by moving the decimal place two places to the left. So another look, it's already at a decimal, so I don't want you to get confused. What I'm really doing is taking it from a percent out of a percent. So I'll move it two places to the left. So 0.04375. Okay. Okay, so now I'm going to take land savings bank, 4.3%. Again, I'm just going to move this place two places to the left. So I have a 0, a 4, and I bring down that 3. Now ascending, smallest to largest. So which one of these is the smallest? I have 0.42. So this is going to be first, the smallest, Johnson City. Then I'm going to have first state is a little bit bigger. And then I have land saving, which is just a little bit bigger. And then e-savings bank. So there's your order. First, Johnson City Trust, first state, savings and land savings and bank, e-save bank. Okay? Example 2. Read through this, pause the video. Okay, so he has a savings account, and he has to have at least 500 or he gets a penalty. So it's like that money market account. His fee, if he goes under 500, is $4. Okay. All right, so he starts out with $716, and he takes away $225. So if I start with $716 and I subtract $225, I or Raul here hopes that it's still greater than 500. Many of you can already see that it's not going to be, but let's see. In my calculator, I have 716.23, and I'm going to subtract $225, giving me 491.3. So now Raul has 491 in his account, 0.3. But it went under 500, so he's going to be charged another $4. So really in his account, after I subtract $4 more, what he has in his account is 487.30. That's what he has up in his account. Now, another day goes by. He's going to lose another $4 until he gets this up to 500. So example 3. Try this one on your own. Okay, so he's depositing $1,200 in an account. It's going to pay 4.5 simple interest. So that's simple interest. As soon as I see that, I know I'm going to use simple interest formula, which if you go back is principal times rate times number of years time. He keeps the money in the account for 3 years, so that means T is 3. Okay, he's not depositing anything else in, so he's not doing anything else with this account. And you want to know how much is going to be in the account. You want to know how much is in the account. So he's starting out with this much, and he's going to make some interest off this. So let's figure out what his interest is. So his interest is going to be based on his principal, the amount that's in the account, $1,200, times his rate, 4.5, but I have to convert this to a decimal. So I'm moving the decimal 2 places to the left. 0.045. Now remember, when I say convert it to a decimal, what I really mean is just changing it out of a percent. And then time was 3 years. Okay, so his interest, how much extra he's going to make on top of what he put in there. So he puts his $1,200 in, and he's going to make an interest of $162. I'm going to double check that calculation. You should always do so. Okay, so I did get $162. So he's going to make $162 in interest. So that's on top of what he already has. So that's his interest. This is how much is in the account. So he's earned $162, but he also started out with $1,200. So he has $1,200 he put in, plus the interest he's earned. So then he's going to end up with $1,362 in this in 3 years. Okay? Let's look at example 4. Okay, again, so I see the simple interest, so I'm thinking I equals PRT, principal times rate times time. Okay, so 2,000, how much simple interest is 2,000 earned in 7 months? Ooh, at an interest rate of 5%. So this is going to be the principal. Interest rate, I got to convert that to 0.05. There's my rate. In 7 months. Now, in time, remember, was in years. So 7 months is just a little over half a year. So we got to know how many years is 7 months. Well, that's 7 out of the total 12 months. So there's 7/12ths of a year there. 7 out of 12. So his interest is going to be the 2,000 principal he started with times his rate, which is 0.05, not as a percent, times his time, which we have is 7/12ths of a year. Okay, so take our calculator. Now to do 7/12ths in this kind of calculator, you multiply by the numerator and divide by the denominator. So we get 63.0583. So I'm going to round this to 63.06. So we're dealing with money. 63.06. That's how much interest was earned. I'm going to go back and see how much simple interest. It's asking for the interest, so that's the answer. If I want to know what the balance was, I take that and add it to the 2,000. Okay, lots of examples here. Let's do 5. Okay, so this is how much principal. Ooh, principal. We're looking for P now. Must be deposited to earn 1,000 simple interest. So I'm using the simple interest formula. This time I'm given the interest in 2 years. So there's my T is 2 at a rate of 5%. So my rate is going to be 0.05. Okay, simple interest formula. Interest, simple interest equals principal times the rate times time. Now I have the interest this time. I know that I'm going to make $1,000 interest. I want to know how much money do I have to start with. So that's principal. How much money do I have to put in this account if there's a rate of 0.05? and I only want to do this for 2 years. So how much money do I have to put in there in order to make $1,000 in interest? So here I can solve for P. You can do this two ways. One is you can divide this by 0.05 and divide it by 2, both sides, to get P by itself. Or you could actually multiply 0.5 times 2 first. So 0.05 times 2, which is 0.1. So I could get 0.1 P, and I have 1,000 here. So when I take 1,000 divided by a decimal smaller than 1, should be a larger number. So here I'll divide by 0.1. So I have 1,000 divided by 0.1 gives me 10,000. So that means in order to make $1,000 in this account, I have to put in $10,000 for 2 years. All right, example 6. We're almost done. I think we have 1 or 2 more examples. So Derek has this bank, pays 4.1 simple interest. The balance is 910, so that's really the principal. When will the account grow to 1,000? So I want to know, when will the interest plus the principal be 1,000, that whole account? Hopefully that makes sense to you. Really take a second to think about that. So I have the rate. It says when will, so I'm looking for time here. How many years is this going to be possible? So I need my interest plus my principal to equal $1,000. Now my interest, I remember, is principal times rate times time. And then I have to bring down this plus P. So my interest plus my principal has to equal $1,000. Now I know my principal is 910. My rate is, this is a decimal, 0.041. Notice I put a 0 in front of the decimal so you can identify that there's a decimal place there. Times time. That's what I'm trying to find, so I'll put a little t there. Again, my principal is 910. And that's all has to end up being $1,000. How many years do I have to wait? Suspense is killing me. Alright, so take $910, multiply that by 0.041, and you get 37.31. So 37.31 T plus 910 equals 1,000. So I'm trying to solve for T here. So the first thing I'm going to do is subtract this 910. I'll take 1,000. Subtract 910. I get $90. So I have 90 over here. And now I have 37.31 T. Now I want to get T by itself, so I'm going to divide both sides by 37.31. I'm not writing these steps in the middle, so make sure you're listening. 90 divided by 37.31. And I get 2.412 repeated. Which doesn't make sense to repeat a fraction of the time. So it says, when will the account grow to 1,000? Well, in 2 years, it won't quite be 1,000. So unless I'm doing it like 2.5 years, I'm going to say 2.5 years, 2.5 years. Or I can say, if I'm only allowed to do this once a year, 3 years, depending on the question. Since this is real, I'm going to say about 2.5. I don't have to wait about 2.5 years. Almost, I have to wait about 30 months. All right, so try example 7. Last one. So you invest 5,000 simple interest again. This is going to be my principal. 5 years, my time is 5. Well, interest rate must account pay, so that there's 6,000 at the end of the year. So that means my interest plus my principal has to be 6,000. Or that's another way of saying my interest has to be 1,000 because I know my principal is 5,000. Okay, so using the simple interest formula, interest equals principal 5,000, rate, ooh, I'm trying to find that, and time 5. This is a little tricky. When I solve for this, I'm going to get first it'll be 1,000 equals 5 times 5,000, 25,000 R. And I divide 1,000 by 25,000. 0.04. So I get the rate is 0.04. But rate is given as a percent. So I have to convert this back to a percent. So this time I'm moving it to the right 2 places, which gives me 4%. So the account has to have 4% in order for me to get $1,000 extra, so that my account has $6,000 in it at the end of 5 years. Okay, so we found principal in one example, we found rate, we did a couple examples on finding interest, we did some earlier examples on basic percentages and comparing them, and fees. So all of this is stuff you need to know for this homework. Okay, enjoy the cartoon, make sure you do the homework. If you have any questions, let me know, but always refer back to your notes, take good notes, and the video. Good luck.